Well, brings us to all in cultures. And I'm going to turn it back over to Adrian to talk about what are some of the key elements as you go on your journey of getting all in at Maven Link. Adrian?
Thanks. Yeah. And I love when we interviewed Chris and his team. One of the things that, it was the team members who said, we need a rule. There's so many rules, as you said, Jess. In space, there are so many rules, but they said, we need our own rule. And that's what great teams do in great cultures. They establish rules that they will live by, that they say, and we're going to talk about a few as we go through here. One of the things that we hear a lot in great teams is they take ownership. It might not be my job, but I'm going to own that. And they, if something needs cleaning up, I'm going to clean it up. It's those silly little things that make such a big difference that they found in space, right? 6 months together. Can you imagine being together with your team locked in a tin can for floating around space for 6 months and not having a single heated argument because their team did little things like this? They took ownership. So I'll tell you about another great leader we had a chance to meet with recently. This is Alan Mulally. Alan took over from the Ford Motor Company in 2006 at a tough time for Ford. If you're a historian of American business, Ford was about to go bankrupt. We sat down with him for hours at a time. We've met with him several times as we've interviewed about his leadership style because the Ford turnaround is pretty remarkable. And he says it's all about ownership. And he says, first off, you got to understand the business is about people. It's about appreciating each other, loving each other up. And this is the leader of Ford, UAW, all these tough guys and women making cars. And he says it's about thanking people at every step of the way. So this is what happened when Alan took over in 2006. Employee engagement was at 20%, which meant that 1 out of 5 people making your car really cared about their work, not what you're looking for, right? They had fiefdoms around the world. For not only they had Land Rover and Jaguar and all these different brands, but Ford Brazil would not talk to Ford US, would not talk to Ford Europe. Everybody was competing with each other. He says we had declining sales, outdated product lines. And when I was about to join in August, Bill Ford told me we're on track to lose $17 billion US this year. And he says, indeed, by December, we hit that goal. He says, first thing I did. So I come in the middle of the summer, and he says, I start having weekly ownership meetings with my executive team, and I want them to cascade these down. So he says, I have my 16 top leaders. We all come in, and he says, we're going to score everything on a grid. If it's green, it's on track. A project is on track. If it's yellow, it's off track, but we have a plan. If it's red, we have no plan. We have no hope. We need help. And he says, first week, everything's green. 300 projects we go through. It takes the full day. Everything's green. Everything's on track. Second week, same. Third week, same. He says, by the fourth week, I stopped the meeting. I said, guys, we're on track to lose $17 billion. It is impossible that everything is on track. But that was the Ford culture, right? You don't admit defeat. You don't admit that you have a problem. Because if you come in with a problem, you look weak as a leader. He told them this. He says, you have a problem, but you are not the problem. Trust me. Next week, he says, 300 projects, all green, except for 1 red square. Mark Fields, the North American president, says, I'm going to take you up on this, Alan. And he put 1 red square. He says, we've got a problem. In our Windsor plant, we've got a latch that's releasing on a new car. We can't release it till we fix this, but we can't figure it out. And Alan says, the room went silent. Everybody's paranoid that Mark is going to get grabbed and taken out of there because that was the Ford culture. But Alan says, I start the slow golf clap. And everybody joins in. And he says, Mark, that is exactly what we're looking for, that kind of transparency. Let's start talking about it. And they start bouncing ideas around. And he stops him after a while. He says, okay, good discussion. He says, here's what I think. The answer is not in this room. The answer is out there in the Ford community. We have 300,000 bright employees. Somebody's got the answer. Our job is to go look for it. Because again, we do not have the answer here. I loved what he said here. He said, by withholding our gratitude in tough times, we end up shooting ourselves in the foot. We need to jolt ourselves out of our self-centeredness. When we're more grateful, everybody's more engaged, focused, and productive. That's what we found in the great cultures. Because he said, when that red turned to a yellow, we celebrated as a team. When the yellow turned to a green, we celebrated again. We became a culture of celebration at Ford Motor Company. Tough as nails, old sharp-elbowed Ford turned around. Now, this is what happened. By the time Allen retired 9 years later, employee engagement was the highest of any large company in the world at 91%. Again, lots of union members, lots of very entrenched people who loved working there again. They did not take a government bailout in 2008. We all applaud that. Their pre-tax profit the year he left was $6 billion versus the $17 billion loss. And look at this stock increase, 1,800% through Allen's tenure. Now, look what happened when he left. Now, Jess, we asked Allen, didn't we? What happened when you left?
Yeah, they took the culture for granted. He said, "Hey, we've got this. We don't have to meet every week. We can meet every other week or maybe every month." They got complacent. And I think that's such a great lesson, Adrian, because it is, in great cultures, like you've got it, Mavenlink, don't take it for granted. It's an everyday kind of thing. I also love, Adrian, that they celebrated those small wins.
Yeah.
You look for the little, and what a team effort it was, what a team effort it was. Well, challenge the status quo. This is one of our favorite stories that we've come across recently. Richard Montanez. Now, Richard has a wonderful story of how, when challenged by the CEO of Frito-Lay for everyone to think as an owner, how he came up with a revolutionary product that literally, in many ways, saved the Frito-Lay company. So we've got a video we want to roll. If you can go ahead and roll the video, the story of Richard Montanez.
It's the popular snack that just inspired a massive Hollywood bidding war.
No fire here, just flaming hot Cheetos.
And it's all because of this man, Richard Montanez, who discovered a secret formula for flamin' hot Cheetos while working as a janitor. Montanez, who emigrated from Mexico as a child and dropped out of high school, was working at a Frito-Lay plant when a machine malfunction left some Cheetos without their usual cheese dust. Rather than throw them out, he decided to take them home and spice them up.
What would happen if I put chile on a Cheeto?
That led to a meeting with Frito-Lay's president, and that impulse decision would become a billion-dollar snack. Montanez is now the executive vice president of multicultural sales at PepsiCo, and the film based on his life will be coming soon to a theater near you.
There are so many ideas and so many things that you can do right now that people haven't seen them yet.
And Montanez says it was a message from the company president encouraging employees to act like an owner that inspired him. Now he hopes to inspire others to bring their own ideas into the world.
Two things that I love about that story. One is that the name of the cheetah on the cheetah is Chester, which that's great. Chester the cheetah. Secondly is that great ideas come from everywhere. And if you've got the great culture and if you've got great teams, it's safe to ideate. My favorite story is so the president, CEO says, "Hey, everybody's got to act like an owner. Here's my number." Well, Montanez takes him up on it and calls the office, and his assistant says, "So where are you calling from, Richard?" He goes, "I'm calling from the plant in Southern California." He goes, "Oh, do you run the plant?" He goes, No, I work in the plant." He says, "Oh, so you're the operations manager?" And he says, "No, I'm actually the janitor." Now, here's what I love about the Frito-Lay culture. President takes the call, loves the idea. Give me a presentation, and it turns into a billion-dollar product. That's when everybody matters. That's when everybody's on the team, right? Doesn't matter title. All that matters is the idea. And, I love it. He says, I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to not be heard. And that's not the case now. And he's the head of their Latino relations. Well, assume positive intent, which kind of plays into the story with Richard, doesn't it, Rich? It doesn't it, Adrian?
It really does, because what happens sometimes in our culture, and this happens with all of us, whether you're in sales, whether you're in engineering, whatever you are doing for Mavenlink, inevitably somebody is going to tick us off, especially in this COVID world where tensions are high. You go, "What do you mean sales did that? What do you mean operations isn't?" We tend to get very kind of emotional sometimes. We assume people are trying to bring us down. What happens when you assume negative intent? So I want to give you a quick little video here. Think about this. If you could play the video for us, this is what happens when you assume negative intent. Here we go.
Hey, kid. You got to get down. Come on.